And we're just going to get straight into this one. Portugal versus DR Congo. And what a game it turned out to be. Well, what a game it did not turn out to be. Portugal came, they showed up, but DR Congo, what else can we say about DR Congo and the performance that they just put in versus Portugal? Portugal got out of the gates with a bang thanks to Joao Neves' 6-minute header. I spoke about this lad in an earlier video and he just lived up to expectation in those first couple of minutes. The goal came about due to the movement in that midfield. Pedro Neto just got it over to him and he finished with his head. Very good play, very good finish. Portugal started out with that 4-2-3-1 formation, having Vitinha, Neves, Pedro Neto, and Bruno Fernandes alongside Bernardo Silva in the middle of the park, with Ronaldo playing in that striker's role. And that was not unexpected. As I have said before in an earlier video, I think this Portuguese midfield is the best midfield in the tournament. Unfortunately, they did not show that today. They played in bits and pieces, bursts here, bursts there. But let's not take anything away from DR Congo. DR Congo came out and they came out with a plan. And you could see it from the formation that they came out with. They were playing basically a 4-5-1 and then a 5-4-1. Even though they had Bakambu and Wissa up front, for the most part, Wissa was technically playing in midfield and Bakambu was up there by himself. The DR Congo team did not give Portugal any space at all. Portugal dominated possession in this game. I mean, they had over 78-79% of possession. By the 63rd minute, they had 77% of possession. But at the 63rd minute, with that 77% of possession, they had only taken 2 shots on goal because they just could not get going. They could not flow. DR Congo was technically disciplined and they were physical without committing a lot of fouls. So they did not give the Portuguese a lot of chances from free kicks in and around the area. And that also stood out for them. And the first half basically ended with DR Congo on a high. Ball came in and Wissa arose unmarked, headed into the back of the net. The Newcastle forward is known for doing that sort of thing. But he was unmarked. And one of the things I had noted before is that the weak link in this Portuguese team are those 2 centre-backs, Araujo and Vega. And it showed on the goal because there was nobody close to Wissa. Araujo made good plays. He was the more solid of the 2 centre-backs and he did himself pretty well. He represented himself pretty well, even in the back end of the game when he flattened Wissa. After Wissa flicked it past him and was going to go in on goal, he just stepped in and just leveled him out. But that's the game. DR Congo was just not having it as it relates to allowing these Portuguese players to play. Bruno Fernandes was a missing man in that midfield. You would have been expecting him to be pulling the strings, to be getting those passes up front to Cristiano, to be pulling those other midfielders as the senior midfielder along with Bernardo Silva in that midfield. You would have expected them to be pulling those strings and getting that Portuguese engine running at full revs, but it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. And Portugal ended up having to shift the ball out to the flanks, to Cancelo and Nuno Mendes. And they were not given the space to come forward either. It was just a wall. They were in a wall. They had possession, but they just could not get through that Congolese wall. And all credit to DR Congo and their technical discipline. It wasn't just the fact that they played that formation, but to be technically disciplined to play it for basically the entire match was a feat in and of itself. Joao Cancelo is one of the best right backs in the world. He proved that again today. He not only tied up his side defensively, but he was preeminent in attack, and he almost got on the score sheet. Would have been his 13th international goal. He got the ball into the back of the net from an acrobatic bicycle kick, but that was ruled off because he was clearly offside, and so he did not get to add to his international tally. But such is football, you know. But again, it just goes to show that for Cancelo to be the one to be getting into that spot, it showed you just how much that midfield and Cristiano was locked down. CR7 really didn't have a good game. You could see frustration showing on him in the second half because he was totally closed down, didn't impact the game at all in either the first half or the second half. He had one really good chance in the second half in the 64th minute, but he dragged it wide, and that was basically his first opportunity, and you could just see him just shaking his head, ruin the mischance. I mean, Roberto Martinez, the Portuguese coach, he tried to shake things up, you know, in midway the second half. We brought on Rafael Leao, Nelson Semedo, and Fabio Conceição, and he took out Bernardo Silva, Nuno Mendes, and Pedro Neto. And for the first 5 minutes or so after the substitutions, Portugal seemed to have had a little step. They weren't getting any clear-cut chances, but they were seemingly a little bit sharper in that attack. They were getting by the Congolese defenders a little bit more, but they just could not break them down. They just could not break them down. And in their push to get that goal, to bring that game, to get into a winning position, they almost conceded. In the 76th minute, Portugal got a corner. The ball came across, and the Congolese keeper, Mpassi, he just came out and just plucked it out of the air. But he looked up, rolled the ball out to Bakambu, who was just outside the 18-yard box. And Bakambu went on a run up the field. He had a lot of space to play with, and he just drove straight down the middle into the Portuguese half. He slipped the ball left to the substitute, Sadiki, who took it further in, cut it back to Bakambu, who was still on mark, still on the move, and he sent his shot over the bar from just outside the 18-yard box. He wasn't under any pressure, and the Real Betis forward should really have done a lot better with that chance. And that, had it gone in, would have really caused Portugal some problems. But fortunately for them, and unfortunately for the Congolese, Bakambu could not maintain his composure, and he sent it high and wide. But that was basically where the game ended for the Portuguese. It was also basically where the game ended for the Congolese. The Congolese just held it together. They didn't seem overly perturbed. Even under pressure, they seemed so calm. They seemed so composed. They just dropped into their spaces. They did not get pulled apart. The ball discipline was excellent. The technical discipline was excellent. They didn't get dragged out of position, which a lot of teams who try to play that defensive game end up getting dragged all over the place and then leaving those open spaces for opposing teams to exploit. This Congolese team did not leave anything for Portugal to exploit. They were technically superb. And if there's anything that we can say that came out of this game, it was the technical ability, the technical nuance of this Congolese team. And so they move on to the next game with a point on the board. Another African team playing in their very first World Cup, who have secured their very first point and have also kept an Iberian team from getting 3 points, as Cape Verde did against Spain. So until the next game, have a good one. Like the video, Subscribe to the channel and leave us a comment. Let us know how you think the Congolese played and what do you think Portugal can do. And is that Portuguese midfield still the best midfield in the tournament after today's display? I still believe so. Until then, next time.